Let's go. First up, we've got U.S. cuts intelligence for Ukraine, adding pressure for peace deal. The U.S. has paused intelligence sharing with Ukraine, CIA Director John Ratcliffe said on Wednesday, piling pressure on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to cooperate with U.S. President Donald Trump in convening peace talks with Russia. So now, in addition to minerals and, not getting nuclear annihilated, giving them one more reason to not be brats about it. See how that'll work out. U.S. pauses intelligence sharing with Ukraine. CIA chief says it believes suspension will go away eventually. Move could hurt Ukraine air defenses against Russian strikes. Yes, this is why it would be a good idea for them to, maybe, make peace. You don't need to have our intelligence on your enemy if, you're not at war with them. Kind of doesn't really matter at that point, right? So, anyway, U.S. has paused intelligence sharing with Ukraine, CIA Director John Ratcliffe said on Wednesday, piling pressure on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to cooperate with President Donald Trump in convening peace talks in Russia. The suspension, which could cost lives hurting Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russian missile strikes, followed a halt this week to U.S. military aid to Kiev, which, again, it's not going to cost you lives if you make a peace deal. Simple mathematics would state. It underscores Trump's willingness to play hardball with an ally as he pivots to a more conciliatory approach to Moscow from what was strong U.S. support for Ukraine. Well, what's our reason to be an ally with Ukraine in the first place? What's our reason to keep this going? Why is it that the news consistently is saying, fuck with Ukraine, fuck with Ukraine, fuck with Russia, fuck with Russia, poke the bear, poke the bear. I'm not saying Russia's good. I'm not saying that I like their, government. I'm not saying I like their cause. It's bad. But so is this shit. And not coming to peace with them is a net negative for everybody involved, especially when you start talking nuclear weapons and all that good stuff. So, giving Ukraine every reason in the world to stop their bullshit. The pressure appears to have worked, with Trump on Tuesday saying he received a letter from Zelensky in which the Ukrainian leader said he was willing to come to the negotiating table. Bet that one hurt Zelensky to say, too. I think on the military front and the intelligence front, the pause, I think, will go away, said Ratcliffe. I think we'll work shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine as we have to push back on the aggression that's there, but to put the world in a better place for these negotiations to move forward. Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, told another Fox program that the president would consider restoring assistance to Kiev if peace talks are arranged and unspecified confidence-building measures are taken. A source familiar with the situation, speaking on the condition of anonymity, said that the Trump administration had halted everything, including targeting data that Ukraine has used to strike Russian targets. Again, we really shouldn't be helping that much or that specifically if it could lead to a greater conflict between us and Russia, because that wouldn't be good. We need peace. Why is everybody so hawkish? Second source told intelligence sharing had only partially been cut, but he was unable to provide more detail. Washington on Monday halted military aid to Kiev following a disastrous Oval Office meeting on Friday in which Trump and Zelensky engaged in a shouting match before the world's media. Clash delayed the signing of a Ukraine-U.S. minerals deal. I don't know if it would be a Trump shouting match. Zelensky certainly got rustled, but I don't think he was understanding, bro, you're not negotiating from a position of strength. You can't sit there and make these demands with what you've got. You have nothing to leverage except for the threat of nuclear war, and we can stop that by stopping you. Several Democrats lambasted the intelligence sharing suspension. Senator Mark Warner, the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, said the ill-fated decision, or ill-advised decision, showed Trump had given American power to Russia. No. Where are you getting that? Saying, hey, we're not going to continue to let you know where your enemy is going to be so you can, like, let's remove America from the situation entirely. Pretend the world is without us entirely. What does that look like for Ukraine? What does that look like for the rest of Europe that's not paying anywhere near as much as we're paying there? We have no reason to give two shits one way or the other. Ill-advised decision, kiss my ass. Let me be clear, cutting off intelligence support to our Ukraine partners will cost Ukrainian lives, said the Virginia Democrat said in a statement, and continuing to do it will cost Russian lives. And I think all life is equal as far as regardless of nationality. So what's your point? Let's find a way to move forward without any lives being killed. How about that? Anybody thought of that one before? Maybe? No? Bueller? Like, European countries are scrambling to boost defense spending and maintain support for Ukraine. France and Britain are aiming to finalize, possibly within days, a peace plan to present to the U.S., diplomats said. Finalizing the minerals deal. In his address to Congress on Tuesday evening, which was fucking phenomenal, Trump said Kiev was ready to sign a deal on exploiting Ukraine's critical mineral deposits, which the U.S. leader has demanded to repay the costs of U.S. military aid. He provided no further information. Trump has also said he has been in serious discussions with Russia and received strong signals that they were ready for peace. It's time to end this senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nothing but facts. U.S. has provided critical intelligence to the Ukraine in its fight against Moscow's forces, including information that helped thwart Russian President Vladimir Putin's drive to seize Kiev at the start of his full-scale invasion in February 2022. But in less than 2 months in office, Trump has upended U.S. policy, stunning and alienating European allies, and raising concerns about the future of the NATO alliance. I don't think it stunned anybody. I don't think it was all that shocking to anybody who was paying attention. That was one of the main pillars in his campaign platform that he ran on. That was what the majority of the people wanted. That's what most of us want. I mean, the fact that his speech to Congress yesterday got, 76% approval or something like that, seems to suggest that his views are in the majority. Like, I don't think it gets much more democratic than that either. So, he also ended Putin's isolation through phone calls with the Russian leader and talks between Russian and U.S. aides in Saudi Arabia and Turkey, from which Ukraine and its European allies were excluded. Well, I mean, maybe they want to just talk shit. Maybe they want to have a dick measuring contest. I don't know. Maybe they want to fuck each other in the ass. Who cares? Like, Russia wasn't at the peace talks with Ukraine, and when Zelensky had his little blow up. So what does it matter if Ukraine's not at the table talking to Russia? Maybe he's trying to drag him into the conversation and give him some neutral space first. I swear to God, you'd think that by the reporting on all this shit, nobody had ever had the concept of diplomacy in their mind ever before today. Like, it's a foreign concept to some people. I don't understand it. Some experts said the U.S. intelligence sharing suspension would hurt Ukraine's ability to strike Russian forces, which occupy about 20% of their country's territory. Well, if the intent is to end the war, you don't need to strike Russian forces. That's how you start wars and continue wars. We're trying to end wars. Unfortunately, our dependence in this regard is quite serious, starting with the missile threats, missile attacks, and ending with what is happening in Russia in the temporarily occupied territories in terms of launching strikes, said Myola Bieleskov, a research fellow at Ukraine's National Institute of Strategic Studies. Some of the loss could be offset through purchases of commercial satellite imagery, but only military satellites could pinpoint missile launches, he said. You don't have to pinpoint missile launches if you're not at war with somebody. The intelligence suspension will also complicate Ukraine's defenses against Russian air and missile strikes, which have regularly hit civilian buildings like schools, hospitals, killing hundreds of non-combatants. You know, it doesn't kill non-combatants? Not being at war. That doesn't kill non-combatants if you're not at war. We will have less time to react, more destruction, potentially more casualties. It will weaken us very, very much, he said. Yes, that's the point. It is to take away something that is giving you a artificial advantage in negotiations. Without us, you don't have this information. You get your asses kicked. The reason y'all are still standing right now, largely because of the U.S., largely because of support from outside of your country. The only reason Russia has not steamrolled the Ukraine right now is because of the support from the rest of the world. And I think that Russia has been incredibly patient trying to wait out the support that we've been giving. There's certainly a case to be made. I don't think that it's right, but there's a case to be made at the very least that aiding a combatant or aiding the belligerent of any conflict would be seen as indirectly fighting the other belligerent of that conflict. So there's a reasonable argument to be made that the U.S. is at war with these countries through a proxy, like a proxy war, like a Vietnam kind of situation, or a Korea situation, or a Iraq, Afghanistan, take your pick, Bosnia, Kosovo, all those. So, just in the war. Walz told reporters Wednesday morning that the U.S. had taken a step back and that the administration was reviewing all aspects of its intelligence relationship with Ukraine. I think we're going to see movement in very short order, he said. And a lot of that comes on the heels of the fact that Zelensky's ass was saying, I don't see an end to this conflict anytime soon, as if he wants to keep it going. And it's like, dude, the only reason you are still standing is because of us. And then you come to our country, you beg for more money, you demand more money, you start making demands, you fucking refuse to say thank you until we call you on it. And then you get in a shouting match with our leader and walk out, like get escorted out. Not a good look, dude. Fucking, you really think we'd want to help you after that? Get fucked. Next. Tariffs on cars from Mexico and Canada delayed by 1 month. President Donald Trump has granted an exemption on auto tariffs on Mexico and Canada for 1 month. From CNN, repeat it 3 times. Headline, subheadline, first line in the article. Holy shit. Issuing a major, albeit temporary, concession on a key part of his administration's economic plan. After speaking with Ford, GM, and Stellantis, Trump said he agreed to a reprieve to ensure America's big 3 automakers aren't harmed financially, but the tariffs are not off yet. But the tariffs are not off. Not yet, anyway. At the request of the companies associated with USMCA, the president is giving them an exemption for 1 month so they're not at an economic disadvantage, Lovett said at the daily press briefing. And that's the USMCA is the free trade agreement between the US, Mexico, and Canada. And I think that's fair enough. It allows our industry to kind of build up to take some of the brunt of that, because part of the intent of tariffs is to shift some of the production at least back to the United States or whatever country's issuing them, so that domestic production can compete financially with international. Because it's like, if a company or if a country is exploiting slave labor, like say China, and with their Foxconn for making Apple phones, right? You can make those so cheap because you have this huge source of cheap labor that can be exploited. And in order to hire the amount of workers necessary to do that kind of work here in the United States, you'd have to pay a fucking fortune, and an iPhone would cost like $30,000. By putting a tariff on China and causing the import of those from there to reflect the price differential, the company is left with like, the company's left with very few options. They can either withdraw from the market entirely, which they wouldn't want to. They can eat all of the cost of the tariff and pay it themselves, keeping the price exactly the same as it is. Probably not going to do that. Or they can split the difference and shift a portion of it onto the consumers and bear a portion of it to themselves. That way they don't over spike the price, but they also pay into the tariff. And what happens there is the price stays low enough that it can be financially viable for them to still sell here, but it's also higher than it was before, so the United States has the opportunity to actually produce things. It's basic, simple fucking economics for anybody who actually paid attention in high school, middle school, elementary school, or cared to fucking think about any of it. All the other across the board 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada remain in effect. But Levitt also said Trump would remain open to other tariff exemptions days after saying there would be none. Stocks rallied on the news on Wednesday. And again, this is one of those things, all the tariffs that we're offering well, not all of them, I shouldn't say, but the majority of the ones that Trump is floating are reciprocal tariffs. It is, if your country charges a tariff on goods we sell there, we're going to charge a tariff on goods from us that you import. It will match yours, so if you want to be like, Fidel Castro's love child, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and getting a pissing match about we're going to raise our tariffs, go right ahead. Ours are going to fucking adjust accordingly as a result of it. The higher you raise it, the higher ours get. So it would behoove you to either lower yours or shut your fucking Canadian Cuban mouth and get back to, just doing what you should do instead of virtue signaling, you fucking twat. Levitt said the automakers should use the month-long reprieve to work towards the president's goals of bringing America's auto production back to the United States. An unlikely scenario because that would mark a significant undertaking requiring massive hiring, investment, and strategic planning. Well, guess what? Honda's opening up a new factory up in, Indiana. We've got companies all over shifting production from wherever they're at to here so they can continue to sell things here as cheaply or cheaper than they would be if they remained outside of our borders. And everybody's acting like this is some kind of bad thing, but having domestic production that can keep up with consumption needs is something that COVID lockdowns taught us is vital to being able to exist as a country and function as a country. Lockdowns happened, all of a sudden we couldn't get vital things that we needed because nothing was made here. Nothing is made here. And so by putting these tariffs on it, it helps out our industry by making it feasible. It's such a simple fucking concept that nobody really seems to fucking even acknowledge exists. And it's frustrating as shit. I don't know what else to say about it. He told them they should get on it, start investing, start moving production here to the United States where they will pay no tariff. That's the ultimate goal. In response, Ford said it would continue speaking with the administration about issues facing the industry. We appreciate President Trump's work to support our industry and exempt auto companies complying with USMCA, Ford said in a statement to CNN. We will continue to have a healthy and candid dialogue with the administration to help achieve a bright future for our industry and U.S. manufacturing. Basically what I fucking said. Somebody gets it. We thank President Trump for his approach, which enables American automakers like GM to compete and invest domestically. Again, the guys that run the companies get it. They're not mad. They understand what's going on, and they understand the why of it. And it's outlets and news outlets and media companies like CNN, like MSNBC, like Fox News. It doesn't matter left or right. It's these fucking talking heads on the news that are there to sell a narrative, sell ad space, generate revenue, that are deliberately misrepresenting or presenting an incomplete picture on a lot of these things, which leads to the people being fucking retarded about it. GM spokesperson said, with more vehicle assembly plants in the U.S. than any other automaker, GM has invested over $60 billion since USMCA took effect, and we continue to invest billions of dollars every year in our manufacturing-based supply chain and U.S. jobs. But Canada is not cheering the one-month auto tariff reprieve, even though U.S. Commerce Department data shows cars are Canada's second biggest export to the U.S. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said, and he and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau are unwilling to accept any tariffs on their country's goods. We're on the same page, zero tariffs, and we are not going to budge. Okay, well then, drop yours to zero. Like, we don't have to do business with you, Canada. What is it, like 90% of your population lives within 50 miles of our border? We'd have more of a problem wresting control of your country from the mooses up there than from you. You are our hat and a punchline. Get over it. Act right. Trump's decision to grant the extension comes ahead of his plan for reciprocal tariffs across the globe, which are set to be announced April 2nd. Unlike the tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods, Trump won't consider it for any exemptions on the pending reciprocal tariffs, Levitt told reporters. They also could come on top of the 25% tariff still in place on other Canadian and Mexican goods. For instance, last week on Fox News interview, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick called out Canada's 5% national sales tax when discussing potential reciprocal tariffs Trump could be eyeing. Long gone are the days of 100% made-in-America cars. For the past several decades, North American car industry has operated virtually without borders, thanks to free trade agreements that have been signed by various presidents, including Trump. That's the USMCA that they were mentioning earlier in the article. Parts and holes of vehicles have flowed freely across borders, sometimes multiple times, before they end up in an American dealership. And that's another thing that's kind of stupid and that people overlook in this, is that shifting production from being done part in Mexico, part in Canada, part in the US, back and forth, it costs money, it costs resources. That's fuel, that's time, that's shipping, that's wear and tear. It's all these little things that add up over the volume that's being done that makes the product more expensive in the end. And it's done due to stupid shit like it being cheaper to do things. I think the example that I've seen that's most egregious is like a fruit picked in Brazil, packaged and processed in Thailand, and then sold in the US. Like, you're introducing so many fucking places for things to happen. Like, simplify it. There's no reason not to have things made simple. And not just for the sake of convenience or the sake of national pride or the sake of national well-being or whatever, but just simplify it for the fact that you don't need to generate all this volume on the highways, on the shipping lanes, on all over the place at the border crossings. I mean, reducing the import-export like this might actually fucking have an impact there that we don't even see right now, or that's not even being talked about right now. So, U.S. automakers have argued that having tariffs on autos and auto parts coming from Mexico and Canada puts cars built in North America plants at a tremendous disadvantage. That's because even cars assembled at U.S. plants had parts coming from Mexico and Canada, and thus would see thousands of dollars each in higher costs. But imported cars from plants in Europe and Asia that have relatively few Mexican or Canadian parts wouldn't have those high costs. Well, don't make the parts in Mexico or Canada. I don't know what else to tell you. Gives free rein to South Korea and Japanese and European companies. Well, Japan's cars are the best. Toyotas are fucking amazing. Shoot them with a fucking rifle and they still just, I love them. Beautiful. Ford CEO Jim Farley told investors at a conference last month they're bringing 1.5 million to 2 million vehicles into the U.S. that wouldn't be subject to those Mexican and Canadian tariffs. Be one of the biggest windfalls for those companies ever. And that's the point, is that it's giving American industry the chance to fucking recover and thrive and do anything. Canadian auto plants produced 1.3 million vehicles last year, according to data from S&P Global Mobility, while Mexican plants produced 4 million vehicles. Step it up, Canada. Mexico's outdoing you. Come on. About 70% of those cars were sold in U.S. dealerships to American buyers. Meanwhile, U.S. auto plants produced 10.2 million vehicles. So we already have double the volume, almost double and a half the volume of Mexico. So shouldn't be that much harder to step it up. Last year, the United States imported 217 billion worth of passenger vehicles, according to Commerce Department data. Over a fifth of those cars came from Mexico, and the top source of auto imports last year. Behind Mexico was Japan, South Korea, Canada, and Germany, which exported a total of 131 billion worth of passenger cars to the U.S. last year. Valued at 50 billion, passenger cars were Mexico's top export to the U.S. last year. Behind crude oil, passenger cars were Canada's top export to the U.S. last year, valued at 28 billion. And what is the export from the U.S. to Canada on these things? Right? What are they charging on the goods that we are selling there? Oh, it's a higher tariff than what we already fucking have. So get over it. Additionally, Canada and Mexico shipped a combined 47 billion worth of car parts to the U.S. last year. Without an auto exemption, the 25% tariff on Mexican and Canadian imports could increase the cost of making cars throughout North America by between $3,500 and $12,000, according to analysis. Business is still in limbo. The administration's swift about-face on auto tariffs adds to the trade chaos that has unfolded since Trump took office. Leavitt noted the president is open to hearing about additional exemptions. This leaves many businesses in limbo. Now, it gives them the opportunity to negotiate and make a deal. And the concept of barter just in and of itself, or negotiation in and of itself, is a foreign fucking concept to people these days. I swear to God. It's like, I understand the efficiency and how easy it is to walk into some place, see a price, pay the price. I get it. But when it comes to these larger deals with international markets and import-export and all of that shit, making deals is a reasonable thing to ask. It is a reasonable thing to do for our president, and that's kind of, again, people fucking trying to dunk on it as, oh, it's going to cost more at the, it's going to cost more when you go to buy it, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and it's like, yes, I know, this is why I voted for it. Like, piss off. Give me a valid fucking criticism or shut the fuck up. I'm sick of just the bitching over nothing. Let's see. Great uncertainty. Others reported tariffs are going to have a ripple-down effect that can severely harm our businesses. Or it could, I don't know, make a bunch of entrepreneurs really rich for having good ideas that they otherwise wouldn't be profitable without the tariffs. So, yeah. U.S. stocks rallied Wednesday after the announcement, with the Dow rising to close 486 points higher, or 1.4%, or 1.14%. 1% gains everywhere, pretty much. Ford up 5.75, Stellantis 9.24, GM 7%. God damn. Makes me wish I had some fucking capital to throw in there, but anyway. Bitches be tripping. Yes. All right, next up. About last night. God, that was great. Donald Trump's Congress speech was a huge hit with Americans. One poll found that 76% of those who watched the president's Tuesday night address said they approve of it. Let that sink in. 76%. 3/4. That is potentially a signal that the midterms are going to be an absolute bloodbath for incumbent Democrats to their populist or Republican opponents. And I'm here for it, because if we can get 2/3 of the House as MAGA friendly or MAGA curious, that means constitutional convention. That means clarifying and strengthening the Second Amendment to where it can't be fucking touched. That means putting term limits on Congress. That means doing all of these things that we've been putting off, extending the First Amendment to cover fucking online platforms and public squares. Doing all of these things that really need to be done that we haven't been able to do because the political capital hasn't been there, but also the unity hasn't been there. And I think we're getting close to seeing that. Large majority of the people who watched President Donald Trump's joint address to Congress approved of the speech, according to a poll. Trump's speech in front of lawmakers Tuesday night was a chance for the president to discuss the sweeping changes he brought during the first 6 weeks of his second term, and oh my god, were there a lot of them. And oh my god, was the salt fucking thick on the left of that room. Like, y'all gonna not even stand and clap for a little kid who had brain cancer getting made an honorary member of the fucking Secret Service. Y'all are a heartless, soulless... Oh, wait, no, they did clap. They clapped one time. They clapped one time, and you know what it was for? They clapped for Ukraine. They care more about the well-being and the safety of a foreign nation than they do for their own nation that they represent. For their own people. They don't care. Al Green's bitch ass getting ejected in the very beginning for standing up and refusing. Sergeant at Arms was grabbing him and taking him out. Get him out of here. Loved it. What to know? CBS News/YouGov poll surveyed people who plan to watch Trump's Congress address and sought their view of the speech immediately after it concluded. And CBS is not a Trump-friendly organization. I don't think YouGov is either. So any biases in the data would be reasonably taken to be towards the left. And it's still 76%. 76% said they approve of Trump's address, with 23% saying they disapprove. A majority of the people who chose to watch Trump's speech were Republicans at 51%. Okay. With 27% saying they were independents and 20% saying Democrats. Oh my god. Oh my god. They oversample that in election years and leading up to the polls there, and I don't expect the methodology to change. And that's reflective of the population writ large. So if the remaining... Oh my god. The remaining amount of it is only 20% Democrats. That means they are done. They are fucking toast. You guys are gone. Hallelujah. CBS News survey is based on 1,207 interviews of adults who watched the address. The results have a margin of error, plus or minus 3.4 percentage points, whatever. During his speech, Trump discussed the topics that have dominated discussions during his second term, such as his immigration proposals, Russia-Ukraine war, and the new tariffs on imports from China, or Canada, Mexico, and China. 2/3 of people who watched the speech believe Trump spent a lot of time speaking about issues they cared about. He did. And he did what I don't recall seeing Biden. I mean, I'm sure Biden probably did a couple times, but he did what a lot of what his predecessor did not do. And that is take real people and honor them in ways that were not just like the launch point for a political point he was trying to make, but it was respectful and honored the spirit or plight that those people had gone through or suffered. And I think that it's really fucking cool that we have a president that's doing that. Like it's so nice to not see the president sniffing 8-year-old children on stage anymore. 68% said the speech made them feel hopeful, and 54% said that made them feel proud. Yeah, I would have agreed with that. More than a quarter, 27%, said Donald Trump's address made them feel worried. 16% said it left them angry. Oh, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo-hoo. My pussy hurts. Like, fucking get out of here. Made you angry or worried? A more peaceful fucking world where we're not at war, or we're not supporting a war with one of our biggest adversaries and could maybe find peace with them, it makes you worried? Strengthening our borders so millions of people don't come across that we have no idea what their intent is or what they are doing, that makes you worried? You worry about the wrong things. Your worries are not reflective of reality. You are delulu. Trump was also praised for his performance Tuesday night, with 74% saying he was presidential and entertaining. He was. While delivering his address, Trump also was described as inspiring by 71%. Jesus fucking Christ. Somebody pinch me, I'm dreaming. Moreover, 62% who watched the speech, during which Trump often criticized President Joe Biden. I wouldn't say often. 16 times over 2 years. Or 2 months. 2 hours. Though I can time. 16 times over 2 hours. Once every, what, 8 minutes? Something like that. So they found it unifying compared to 46 who found it divisive. I mean, I think it was more unifying than it was divisive. His language was we. His language was unifying. He invited the Democrats to celebrate in it, to take part in it, to not be salty, sour, dour Karens, and they declined it. His offer was there, and his offer was genuine. The poll found significant majority of the people who watched the speech said they liked Trump's plans for reducing federal spending and waste, immigration, ending the Russian-Ukraine war, and imposing tariffs. God damn, those numbers, 77, 77, 73, 6. Fucking A. During his speech, Trump said there would be a little disturbance to the economy due to the implementation of tariffs against Canada, Mexico, and China, but that they would ultimately make the U.S. rich again, and they will. Just look at his first term, right up until COVID, right up until the world lost its shit, right up until fucking people were forced inside by the governors and all that. Yeah, it was great. Trump also said he received a letter from Ukrainian President Zelensky on Tuesday, which had signaled willingness to discuss a peace deal. He added he had been in serious discussions with Russia and receiving strong signals from them that they were ready for peace, which means good things are on the horizon, I hope. I praised tech billionaire Elon Musk for his work at Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, which has overseen the gutting of several federal agencies and mass layoffs of thousands of federal workers over the past 6 weeks. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court has lost its fucking mind. 5-4 decision that a lower judge can tell the executive what to do with the fucking $2 billion in spending cuts there. That was a surprise I didn't expect, and I think Alito was pretty pissed about that too. Actually, let me see if I can find an article. I'm gonna fucking call an audible on this shit, because that one really bears talking about. I might drop the Tesla sites, maybe. Where is it? There it is. Depresa. Let's see, who should we pick for our coverage of this? Let's give old Timmy Pool a click. Oh, it's on the, god damn it. Post-millennial. Un momento, por favor, pardon the dust. There we are. There's the article. I'll let that load, but Democrats held signs reading Musk's deal, save Medicaid during the speech. Medicaid's not under threat. Texas Democratic Representative Al the Retard Green was removed from the chamber after repeatedly heckling Trump as the president delivered his address. 76% of those who watched the speech approved of Green being removed. Boost! And then it's just what these guys are saying about it. 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of the Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of a golden age for America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest, most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplish in 4 years. Yeah, 4 or 8 years. Yeah, he's right. We're just getting started. I love it. Love it. Mike Johnson, the guy who couldn't stop fucking clapping into his microphone. Tonight, President Trump made his triumphant return to Congress to share his bold and optimistic vision for renewing the American dream. He showcased the historic record-setting achievements of his first weeks in office and the immediate real-life positive impacts of the America First agenda. After 4 years of President Biden's disastrous policies, President Trump has seized the moment and moved rapidly to deliver on the promise of restoring American greatness. Love it. Tonight, every Republican got out of their seats and gave a standing ovation for skyrocketing costs, economic freefall, and the next American recession, brought to you by Donald Trump. I dare every single one of these Republicans who blindly applauded for Trump to go home and meet their voters face to face, but they won't because they know that the Republican tax scam to take money out of the pockets of working people to give trillions in handouts to their rich will cost them their jobs. Damn. Projecting much? Like, they can't even fucking say anything nice. Like, not one nice word about anything. They just always gotta be divisive. But here is the real shit. I wish that this one would have been up when I was pulling articles for all this shit, but, Supreme Court rules 5-4, Trump not allowed to block $2 billion in USAID payments. And I am stunned, wrote Justice Samuel Alito in the dissent. Who's the rat? It's two rats. Supreme Court ruled 5-4 on Wednesday against the Trump administration and sided with a lower court judge's order for the government to pay around $2 billion for U.S. Agency for International Development contractors. The High Court rejected the Department of Justice's emergency application and sent it back down to the lower courts for further proceedings. I cannot fucking believe that shit. The one-page order stated that the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia issued a temporary restraining order on February 13th, blocking Trump administration from enforcing directives that paused the distribution of foreign development and aid funds, which is within the scope of the executive. This is so fucking far beyond the pale. I don't even... where's the... Let's see. Dissenting justices were Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh. So, Amy Coney Barrett, Sotomayor, let's see, Ketanji Brown Jackson, John fucking Roberts, you goddamn neocon fink. Where is... Oh, and it was him that wrote the fucking... What a fucking twat. Let's see. What's the order? Give me the fucking... This is what I wanted. Here is the hearing itself. Let's see. That's the dissent. February 13th, the United States District Court of the District of Columbia entered a temporary restraining order against enjoining the government from enforcing directives pausing disbursements of foreign development assistance funds. The present application does not challenge the government's obligation to follow that order. On February 25th, the District Court ordered the government to issue payments for a portion of the paused disbursements, those owed for work already completed before the issuance of the District Court's temporary restraining order. Several hours before that deadline, the government filed this application to vacate the District Court's 25th order and requested an immediate administrative stay. Chief Justice entered an administrative stay shortly before 11:59 deadline and subsequently referred the application to the court. Application is denied given that the deadline in the challenged order has now passed, and in light of ongoing preliminary injunction proceedings, District Court should clarify what obligations the government must fulfill to ensure compliance with the TRO, with due regard for the feasibility of compliance timelines. So that's dumb as hell. The dissent. Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, all dissent. Does a single district court judge who likely lacks jurisdiction have unchecked power to compel the government of the United States to pay out, and probably lose forever $2 billion taxpayer dollars? The answer to that question should be an emphatic no. But a majority of this court apparently thinks otherwise. I am stunned. In capsule form, this is what happened. Respondents are a group of American business and nonprofits that receive foreign assistance funds from the State Department and the USAID. They brought suit and claimed that the current administration's temporary pause of foreign assistance payments is unlawful. On February 13th, 2025, the District Court issued a temporary restraining order, TRO, requiring the government to halt its funding pause. It based that decision on a finding that respondents are likely to succeed, showing that the government violated Administrative Procedure Act After issuing the TRO, District Judge grew frustrated with the pace at which funds were being dispersed, and on February 25th, issued a second order requiring the government to pay out approximately $2 billion. The judge brushed aside the government's argument that sovereign immunity barred this enforcement order and took 2 steps that, unless corrected, would prevent any higher court from reviewing and possibly stopping the payments. First, he labeled the order non-appealable TRO, and second, he demanded that the money be paid within 36 hours. Left government little time to try to obtain some review of what it regarded as a lawless order. The government moved for a stay pending district court. I hope that they refuse the order. Enforce it. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see them try to enforce it. And this is just the rest of the dissent. This is... it's absurd. It's fucking just on its face absurd. It's ridiculous. Because if they lose the case, all that money's been paid out, and they have no way of recouping it. Or if the government wins the case, right? If the government wins that case, that $2 billion that was forced to be paid out can't be recouped. There's no way to reasonably expect them to not have spent it and dispersed it and whatever. I would be willing to accept a fucking halfway measure of, okay, they'll pay it out on the condition that the plaintiff has a bond requirement for the amount. That way, if they lose their challenge, the money can be repaid. But beyond that, I mean, it's just fucking stupid. I don't have any other words to describe it other than fucking stupid. And more stupid. Tesla sites hit by arson amid DOGE cuts. Elon Musk backlash. The attacks come as Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, that's Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, continues to slash jobs of thousands of federal workers. They're actually just recommending it, not actually slashing it. Your anger is misdirected. Elon is providing the intel. U.S. is acting on it. Or Trump is acting on it. Just like the U.S. was providing the intel to Ukraine, and they're acting on it. So if you want the... See what I'm saying? Arson has hit 2 Tesla electric vehicle facilities this week, charging stations near Boston, Massachusetts, and a dealership in France, as company CEO Elon Musk continues to slash thousands of federal jobs. Why France? Hold up. What the fuck do they care? They have no reason to care. Continues to slash thousands of federal jobs via his DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. Dozen Tesla cars were ignited outside a French dealership in Toulouse Sunday evening. 8 of the vehicles were gutted and 4 were badly damaged. Local prosecutor's office told Agence France Presse, that sounded Japanese, not French, that the attack was not at all accidental, and authorities have opened a criminal investigation. Hours later in Massachusetts, 7 Tesla charging stations were torched Monday at a shopping center in Littleton, about 43 miles from Boston, causing heavy fire-related damage to nearby cars. The police department there said investigators believe the fires were suspicious in nature and intentionally set. No shit. Politically motivated is terrorism. That's what it is. It's fucking terrorism if you really want to be technical about it. If we're going to call anything motivated by ideology terrorism, like the left wants to call anything motivated by difference in skin color or gender or sex or orientation or what the fuck ever, they want to call that a hate crime, well, this is terrorism. Congratulations. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Fuck around and find out. The charging stations have been engulfed in flames and heavy dark smoke. They were called... Police called on the Littleton Electric Light and Water Department to shut down power to the charging stations while waiting for the department personnel. Another charging station ignited. Officers launched preliminary investigation once the power was cut and fires extinguished. Probably some of these fucking retards. Maybe not these specific ones, but just the same ilk. No injuries. Brand has faced backlash since Musk assumed the role of special government employee steering DOGE, which has been responsible for firing thousands of federal employees. Good! Good! Protesters have staged demonstrations at Tesla dealerships across the nation, and I'm sure his heart goes out to all of them. They've lost 26% of their... Wow. flashed what appeared to be a Nazi Sieg Heil. Like, Tesla stock plunged 26% after Musk did the Sieg Heil thing that everybody got their panties in a twist over. Even though it... What happened to them being, like, the accepting side? What happened to them being the, like, oh, don't make fun of retarded people? Like, last month, a group identifying itself as Students Against Nazi Extremism posted messages on Tesla's Humboldt County, Northern California, and sent a manifesto to a local newspaper warning Tesla owners to get rid of their vehicles before they're vandalized. That's not terrorism at all. Last week, Justin Thomas Nelson, 42, Lyons, Colorado, was arrested for allegedly vandalizing a company dealership in Loveland, Colorado. They found a Molotov cocktail. I covered that one. They used a different name, though. Found Nelson in his car, blah, blah, blah. Already covered that one last week. But yeah, it's just like, can you people fucking... You can't come up with a valid argument, so you go to the Nazi thing, and then when people don't buy that, you fucking start torching shit? Like, come on. Last but not least, U.S. charges some Chinese hackers, government officials in broad cyber espionage campaign. 12 Chinese nationals, including mercenary hackers, law enforcement officers, and employees of a private hacking company, have been charged in connection with global cyber espionage campaigns targeting dissidents, news organizations, U.S. agencies, and universities, the Justice Department announced Wednesday. The Treasury Department, which disclosed a breach by Chinese actors late last year that nobody cared about then, but now everybody's like, oh, Elon Musk, he can get a treasury data, social security numbers, blah, 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 blah. But the government agency, the actual treasury itself was subject to a data breach. Where were these cries of outrage then? But that was one of the targets of the indicated hackers, or indicted hackers. The indictments come as the U.S. government has warned of an increasingly sophisticated cyber threat from China, including a hack last year of telecom firms called Salt Typhoon. Salt Typhoon was what we saw in the fucking house yesterday during Trump's speech on the left. That was a Salt Typhoon. Gave Beijing access to private text and phone conversations of an unknown number of Americans, including government officials and prominent public figures. Holy fucking shit. What? That's not good. I mean, who needs TikTok when you can just hack everything, right? One indictment charges leaders and founders of private hacking company known as Isun, whose officials conducted a sweeping array of breaches around the world as part of what U.S. officials say was broad intelligence gathering operation. Among those named in the indictment was Wu Haibo, who founded Isun in Shanghai in 2010 and was a member of China's first hacktivist group, Green Army. From hacktivist to dickhead. Got it. Cool. Fuck you, dude. The indictment contained new revelations about Isun's activities, targeting a wide range of Chinese dissidents, why, religious organizations, why, and media outlets based in the United States. Okay, fair target. Including a newspaper identified as publishing news related to China and opposed to Chinese Communist Party. Oh, you were hacking for the Chinese Communist? Fucking fuck you, dude. Hell nah. Other targets included individual critics of China living in the U.S., the Defense Intelligence Agency, and Research University. Holy shit. So China is backing, it's not quite state-sponsored hacking, but it kind of is state-sponsored hacking of our government, of our people critical of them, of political dissidents, of China that have fled. Like, they need to be put in check. They need to be fucking called out on their bullshit and made to stop. Isun was targeting a wide range of governments, such as India, Taiwan, that's funny, Mongolia, but little on the U.S. Justice Department officials say they're cracking down on the hacking for hire ecosystem in China, AP correspondent Donna Warder reports. The targets were, in some cases, directed by China's Ministry of Public Safety to law enforcement officers who were also charged with tasking certain assignments. But in other instances, the hackers acted at their own initiative and tried to sell the stolen information to the government afterwards. They were probably trying to buy their fucking lives back so they could, not be executed in their sleep, because China is fucking crazy like that. Company charged the Chinese government the equivalent of between approximately $10,000 and $75,000 for each email inbox successfully hacked. Holy shit. I'll just start making blank ass Gmail accounts and giving them the shit. Why? Like, why the fuck not? Pay up, motherfuckers. Phone numbers listed for iSoon on a Chinese corporate registry rang unanswered. No shit. Spokesperson for Chinese embassy in Washington, Liu Pengyo, suggested the allegations were a smear, and we hope the relevant parties will adopt a professional and responsible attitude and base the characterization of cyber incidents on sufficient evidence rather than groundless speculation and accusations. Separate indictment charges two other Chinese hackers in for-profit hacking campaign that targeted victims including U.S. technology companies, think tanks, defense contractors, and healthcare systems. Holy shit, don't give more fucking information to the government. I don't know how much more clearly to fucking state it. So, and then there's all this, but yeah, fucking stupid Chinese people hacking everything, and what the fuck. Still got them under geomagnetic storm, nothing really there, and I'm gonna just call it there. Have a